Hi guys, great to be here with you today. Today we're looking at our last hero of faith from the Bible. Although today we don't just have one hero of faith or two, but we have three heroes of faith. Our heroes of faith today are Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, those very common household names. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego make it into our heroes of faith videos, and for me they are my favourite heroes. I find their story to be really powerful and a massive inspiration. They're so brave and so gutsy. For those that know their story will know what I'm on about, but for those of you that don't, you can read about them from Daniel chapters 1 to chapters 3. Along with Daniel, they were living in Judah when they were taken over by the king Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. They were taken prisoners back to Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, let's just call them SM&A for now to make it a little bit easier, along with Daniel, were either part of the royal family or nobility. They were young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. And I know what you're thinking, I could have easily been mistaken for one of them. But although they were taken captive, they were treated really well. There are a few reasons why King Neb would have treated them really well, but I think ultimately that if these people were part of the royal family or nobility, and they saw that the Babylonians weren't so bad, then the rest of Israelites might have thought the same as well. But anyway, little by little, King Neb tried to make them forget about their old land, their old ways and their old God, and bring them round to thinking about the Babylonian land and the Babylonian ways and their gods. Neb would do this by either giving them something nice to change their minds, or just threatening something really bad. And one thing King Neb was going to do was to make a huge image of gold and make everyone, with no exceptions, bow down and worship it. But if people didn't, they'd be thrown into a burning furnace. And I don't know about you, but I just get burnt looking at the sun, so it's not worth imagining what would happen if I was thrown into a burning furnace. After SM&A heard this, they had to bow down to this gold image, and knowing the punishment, what choice did they have? What would you have done? But this is why SM&A are heroes of faith. This is what it says in Daniel 3:16-18. King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we were thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the image of gold you've set up. They were about to be thrown in the burning furnace, and they tell the king that it doesn't matter what you do to us, our God will save us. But even if he doesn't, they will never bow down to him. They will only bow down to the one true God. And I just love it when they say that. They're so brave and just so gutsy. I know that we should never bow down to anything but God and read the verses in the Bible that say that. But until you're faced with a big consequence like SM&A were, until you're stood next to that furnace, I don't think we will really know what we would do. SM&A stood up to authority, they stood up to the king, they stood up for their faith and for their God. We may not be faced with a burning furnace nowadays, but we are faced with that dilemma, to stand up for your faith and face the consequences. So what are the burning furnaces we face today? Being embarrassed, looking silly, being left out, being an outcast? Whatever it is, do we have faith like SM&A? Do we have faith to say that God will save us from anything, and even if he doesn't, we will still worship him? For me, it gives the song Kingdom Come a whole new meaning for me. It just makes it real. To be thrown into flames and still to say, my God he saves, my God he saves. I pray that both you and I will be able to do that next time we're faced with that dilemma.